What is up, everybody? You already know who it is. It's your boy, Mr. 0-3, the god of minus TC Z Money, back at it again with another episode of the best segment of all time, Zachetology. The 21-38 season has ended, and it's time to talk about the playoffs. 16 teams enter, 8 will go home. Well, 15 are going to go home if you wait long enough, so I might as well say that because shit, you ain't getting another episode from me for another season. So 15 will go home, but one will be crowned RBSL champion. And really, it's whether or not it's Idawin or whether or not we forever roast Idawin for the rest of our lives. But before we get too deep into talking about individual playoff teams, let's just talk about this season. I want to say this was an absolutely fantastic season. This season was a little less centered around the basketball and a little more centered around the culture of the league, and I'm here for it. We obviously had the cheating Brooklyn Nets leading us with an absolutely fantastic scandal. That was just a great day. That's one of those moments that will be forever enshrined in league history as a good time to be on the main chat. But it is not all Idawin. I'd like to give a big shout out to the cheating Washington Wizards, the cheating Memphis Grizzlies, and the cheating Detroit Pistons for all giving us a nice heaping of soap opera entertainment. Big shout out Adam and Kyle for dodging a lot of the kickback from all of that drama. Adam did plead the fifth, so well played, sir. Maybe you have a future in law if you ever decide to stop practicing medicine. Now, the other important thing, and this is slightly related to basketball, is that the Houston Rockets are not in the playoffs, and why that matters so much is because yours truly, Mr. Z Money, is holding on to the longest playoff streak in the league, but Bryant was hot on my heels. I think he had 2 seasons behind me. So with him, my greatest competition is gone. Adam is also highly likely my greatest competition is also going to be gone after next season. When you can't win championships, you got to have something you play for. And in this case, it will be whatever this streak ends up being. I'm hoping I can make the playoffs one more time before I get my pick back and I tank. And it's going to end at like 20 seasons straight. So hopefully that can be some like Wilt Chamberlain-esque record that none of you nerds can ever beat. But time will tell. In terms of the basketball, I think a lot of us expected the East to surpass the West this season. That was like the big theme coming in. The West was finally going to age out. The Grizzlies were going to get too old. The Nuggets were going to get too old. The Thunder were going to get too old. While it began to happen, it did not happen. The West is still better than the East. The Nets are like kind of this anomaly that is the only reason the East is legit. I feel like I used to say that about the Celtics, maybe the Celtics and the Nets. So really, it's whether or not Idawin can win the chip to preserve any clout for the East. But like the Nets are the best team in the league. Teams 2 through 5 are all Western teams. Then there's the Hornets, who seem like a step up above everybody else. But I honestly don't love the Hornets. We'll talk about that later. In terms of the teams that are kind of in that next tier, because there's like those top 6 teams, and then there's a clear gap, and then the rest. I think the East might have a slight edge. I think I like, if I was going to tier them out, I think I like in that second tier the Magic, the Sonics, and the Bucks as like the 3 next. The Wizards I can't decide on, and then I kind of hate the rest of the teams. I might like the Celtics actually sneakily as well. But anyways, the West remains good. So let's talk about some individual matchups. So in terms of matchups, what do we have? We have the Celtics versus the Nets as the 1-8. The Magic versus the Bulls is the 4-5. The Hornets Wizards 2-7. The Bucks Knicks 3-6. Big shout out. Oliver versus Noel in a playoff series. I mean, it's like, is it even going to happen? Is a game plan going to get uploaded? That's wild. Anyways, super cool. And then out West, Thunder versus Blazers, Nuggets Suns, Clippers Sonics, Daddy Bull, and Mavericks Grizzlies. So let's start with the East. We'll go from the bottom up. All right, let me just get it so I can do my stuff. All right, my technology is operating fantastic. All right, so I can tell you right off the bat who's going to win the series is going to be the Brooklyn Nets. The one thing I want to say about the Brooklyn Nets, Idawin's team is ridiculous. The big men are good. The guards are outstanding. And Olin Harris is fucking ridiculous. That's how I describe that team. I think there's an opportunity for Itawin, like to pick up a free agent defensive big man or to use, I think it's Wilbert Viola as his backup and start starting Barrett Todd Burnside and Olin Harris all at once. Right now he has Burnside coming off the bench, which I mean, it's one thing to stand for my player who I kind of turned into a superstar, but also I just think it's a bad play. It won't matter for this series, but against real teams, I feel like you want to get your talent out. Giving Todd Burnside only 20 minutes a game or whatever he's getting is just like, it can't be the most efficient way to be playing ball. But the Nets are fantastic. Olin Harris is going to break the league. On the Olin Harris note, I think the Olin Harris problem is the one reason I do like the steroid era drafts. You know, when you have a lot of ridiculous players, you're less at risk of one single player destroying the league. Now, I say that, and Olin Harris has not yet destroyed the league, but I highly suspect that when he's 26 or 27, he will. Time will tell. But if we just keep making more Olin Harrises, then Olin Harris can't destroy us because we'll have Olin Harris 2.0 to fight against him. This is why we need juice draft classes. I just really hope, in all reality, that he doesn't just like ruin a conference for a decade, because right now I am honestly concerned that that's going to happen, because the man's stat lines are already absolutely absurd, and it's arguable he has like 2 to 3 seasons of full growth left, which is nuts. The Celtics are a good squad. I like the roster. It's kind of like an incomplete team. I like Granville De Los Santos as a scorer. I don't know if I would quite call him an all-around big man, although he's really close. He's a very good player. I like the guards as kind of like scorers, although they're undersized, the kind of Willie Hendry, Gregory Hihiman, and Carlos Laraneda. I don't like any of the small forwards that Gasper has. And I like Nolan Price as far as a defensive big man for this series in this moment is fine. But he's not like a long-term piece just because his contract is such an abomination. Like, the problem for the Celtics is just that, like, the Nets have a better player at literally every position. So I'm feeling the Nets 4. I'll give the Celtics 1. They do have talented players. You know, there will be some game where like Gregory Hihiman chucks and ends up with enough points to maybe carry the Celtics a game or so. The Celtics do feel like they should not be the 8th seed. I like them more than the Bulls. I like them more than the Knicks. I think I might like them more than the Wizards. I don't know. I kind of like the Wizards and those two about the same. So it is unfortunate that Gasper kind of, I just think he caught some bad luck in terms of like the games, but that's how it is. That's how it goes. RBSL, big RNG energy. Let's go. So anyways, Nets moving on, not a shock. All right, next up, we got the 4-5 seed, the Magic and the Bulls. The Magic have been really good, and I'm a little confused why. I kind of get it, but I'm also not convinced. Like, the Magic are basically good defense plus Roger Bechtel. And the thing about Roger Bechtel is he can't play a full game because he keeps fouling out. And I think, like, I'm personally extremely averse to foul players. It'll be interesting to see how it goes in this playoff series. Meanwhile, the Bulls are a pretty uninspiring team. Look, Ismail, whatever you want to call him, Marikin, he's a solid all-around player, but, like, he's your best player, and he's not an elite scorer. He's not an elite rebounder. He's not an elite defender. He's just good at all of those things. The guard wombo combo of Jerry Wilson, Gary Leeper, and Sam Obasanya, they're all fine. But again, these are like starters, not stars. And then everything else in between, I'm just not sure anybody's fantastic. Like, there's like a defensive guy in Dorian Johnson, but he can't score to save his goddamn life. There's Aaron Roberts, who's like a great glue guy, but again, you need more for your entire team. The Bulls are just like very mediocre to me. They scream mediocrity. I think we all got hyped because they had a soft schedule at the beginning and they crushed it. But like, I kind of came in expecting to be super hyped for the Bulls, and then when I looked at their roster, I was kind of like, whoa, this is not a team that's going to win a lot of games. Like, they won 50 games in the weakest conference in the RBSL. I don't know. And with a plus minus of 6. I mean, it's not a catastrophe, but it's not great. In terms of how I think the actual matchups will play, basically, the Bulls are going to get shut down on the inside. Ishmael is going to get shut down by Claudio Villanueva. Claudio Villanueva, I think, is like the best defensive big man, like, the up and coming best defensive big man. I think he caught some late plus TC. He's A plus in all the right categories. He's a little small, but he's allergic to fouls. I mean, he's got everything you're looking for. They're going to shut down Ismael. So then it's the guards of the Bulls that are going to want to score, like Gary Leaper, Sam Obasanya, and is it Jerry Wilson or is it a different? It is Jerry Wilson. There's like all these guards. It's Jerry Wilson and David Adams. I always get them swapped up for some reason. I don't know why. But I think the Magic can play defense on him. David Adams, he's like a little small and unathletic, but like he at least has a perimeter D. Seth Lee has the total athletic package and is an A perimeter defender. So I think there's not a great way for the Bulls to stop Roger Bechtel. Aaron Roberts isn't the worst matchup in the world, but he's also not the best. But basically, I think the Magic will take this one, and the Bulls will just be crossing their fingers that they come up lucky as far as how the Bechtel fouls go. If you're thinking game planning strategy, if you're the Bulls, I think you jack the pace up. I don't even know if it will work because, usually the common theory is more possessions in a game lowers the variability. The lower the variability, the better the team with the higher margin will do. The Magic have the higher margin, but when you get the fouls in play, it's like the higher likelihood a dude fouls out. If Bechtel fouls out early, or the Bulls the better team now, I don't know, but I think it's their best shot. So if I'm the Bulls, I'm running and gunning. I'm maximizing possessions to try and win. I still think the Magic have a handily superior team, so I'm going to give them 4-2. Although I do work this is mainly because I dislike the Bulls. I wouldn't say I love the Magic. I just don't want an offense ever run by Roger Bechtel. Next, we have the Hornets versus the Wizards. All right, so the Hornets look like an elite team. They won 68 games, 14.1 plus minus. They're kind of an interesting squad. They're basically all offense. They're like the second or the best offense in the league. Yeah, they're the second best offense in the league. And they're the fifth defense in the league, but I don't believe it. I'm not a believer in this team's defense. Sylvain Delbecq, he's a good defensive big man. Rock solid. I can't fault him. But, you're starting Lili Fulifak, who's maybe terrible is too aggressive. I don't like him as a defender. Not super athletic, not particularly big. All he does is block shots, and he fouls a little bit. And then, outside of Barlayer on the guard side, it's Cletus is beginning to lose the athleticism. I know he's an A-plus perimeter defender and he's tall, but then in terms of your small forward, is it going to be Jamel Abraham? Is it going to be freaking Morgan Alcantar, who's also an unathletic, terrible defender? I don't know. So look, I get that Barlayer is unbelievable and he's had an unbelievable season. I think he won MVP, right? Sorry, I'm going to confirm that. Yeah, he did win MVP. And you can see why. 64.5% true shooting on almost 30 points a game. And he's a good defender. God, I wish I could catch a plus TC like that. But for the Hornets, I'm just not a believer because it feels like it's all on Barlayer. And, he's good, but he's lacking just, I don't know what it is. I think I want to see more athleticism from him. Not that he's magically going to become more athletic. But his previous performances in, the playoffs have just, against good defenders, he's shown that he doesn't have any of the cheat code sauce to remain permanently unstoppable. Now, how that will pan out against the Wizards, I think the Hornets can handle the Wizards. The Wizards, Jalen Suggs is kind of the big X factor here. It's is Jalen Suggs cooked? Is he not cooked? He obviously had a pretty bad regular season. He's going to be both getting a lot of minutes and taking a lot of shots. In theory, he's still a good defender, reasonably athletic, 6'3". But is he a terrible black hole on offense? The same thing goes for Timmy Hamilton. It's okay, Timmy Hamilton is a good defender, 6'5", athletic. Is he going to shoot you into games or shoot you out of games? I think, the performance of those two, it's has Jalen Suggs died and has Timmy Hamilton finally grown into his own? It'll be an interesting question. I'm of the opinion they haven't, and the Hornets are just to have the most talented player in Barlayer to begin with. The Wizards also have Justin Watchman, who's a very good all-around player. The big problem with Watchman is he's not at the point where he can take advantage of matchups, and it doesn't help that Sylvain Delbecq exists, and Sylvain Delbecq's just the best defender. He's a better defender than any of the offensive players the Wizards have. So I don't see them scoring particularly well on the inside. The big chance for them will be on the outside. But even on the outside, I don't love the outside players for the Wizards. They're kind of known chuckers, and it's not like Barlayer and Malaire bad defenders. Really, what you're looking for if you want to beat the Hornets is just a perfect athletic wing that can take it inside. God, it's like Olin Harris was built to destroy this team. But that will happen at a later round. Is why I don't love the Hornets. So I think the Hornets will pretty handily take care of the Wizards. The Wizards are a young, interesting squad. It'll be very interesting to see what happens with Timmy Hamilton. If Timmy Hamilton does grow into a superstar role, then the Wizards could be good. If he doesn't, it'll be unfortunate that, 5 different teams have waited 10 total seasons or however long for Timmy to come around, and he never did. But it's too early to make any claims. The final matchup, this is the one I'm the most excited for by far, is the Bucks versus Knicks. The Ollie Noel matchup. The Bucks were a 3 seed. They didn't have the best plus minus, but they had some solid luck, I guess, to get here. They had a plus minus of 7.6, which is solid, but it's still worse than the Wizards and the Magic. But they won more games, and that's what matters. So here they are as the 3 seed. Look, this Bucks roster is fucking nasty. Like, this team should be so good. It's also a statement of how bad of a game planner or a coacher, or maybe it's how lazy. Like, I don't know whether Noel's been paying attention, that this team only won 56 games and didn't get over 10. Like, this team might be better than the Hornets if Noel paid attention. And I'll just show you one heinous coaching thing that's been happening all season with this team that I think could win this team, I don't know, those extra games and get that extra 3 or 4 points on the margin. All right, so this team has 2 elite players. It's got West Eastwood and Francois Santoro. Now, in the middle of the season, Noel was like, look, I'm going to make a move to add some pieces around this team, and he acquired Angel Moore from the Celtics. Totally fair. Totally makes sense. I get it. Angel Moore has just been sitting on the fucking bench all season for no reason. So, Noel, that's who this GM is. Noel needs to put Angel Moore as the starting power forward. He needs to move Chance Roman down to small forward. Chance Roman is not a post defender anyways. He's literally a perimeter-oriented player. Look at his stats. He's meant to be a shooting guard, small forward. So it's a totally natural fit. And then give Andrew Salavita the backup minutes at both power forward and center. And it's this team is instantly way better. There's probably more smaller things for the individual matchup against the Knicks, but it's just this team is neglected. There's nothing else to say. This team is absolutely neglected. Santoro and West Eastwood are generational pieces. These could, on a single team in a good GM's hands, these could lead a team to fantastic, I don't know if they'd be championship level, but to a very good season. Together, this team should be competing for championships. I've talked with Noel. I know he's scared to make moves. In my opinion, Chance Roman needs to go. Someone will pay a lot for Chance Roman. I offered at the time to pay a lot for Chance Roman. And you just fill out this roster with defenders and passers who can get Santoro and West Eastwood the ball because they're unstoppable machines, and they can do way more than 20 and 25 points a game. They could both be at 30 if you get rid of the other scorers. I know Jesus Wood is a tougher sell, but sometimes you just gotta accept that you're not going to sell him for a lot and replace Jesus Wood with some AA defender that can pass, a Z Money or whatever. Don't trade with me. I don't want this to be some soapbox leading to some trade block for my fucking players. But find a Jonathan Ratliff or a who's the other dude, Joshua Durant. Find one of those dudes, get him on your team. The Bucks team should be so good. Okay, so the big question for the Bucks is whether they're even going to upload. So if Noel watches this Zachetology, makes the Angel Moore roster change and uploads, this series is over. The Bucks dominate. It doesn't matter what the fuck the Knicks do. This team is too good. However, that's quite a big question of whether or not that will happen. So let's talk about the Knicks. The Knicks are a fun team. The Knicks play some fantastic defense, but their offense is pretty criminal. So I guess if you're a League Pass viewer or a fan in real life, they're actually the worst team to watch. But if you're Zach, you love them because I love defensive teams. Evan Mobley is dying, but really it's his offense that's died. He's still getting those 4 blocks a game. He's still an A post defender. Athleticism, unclear how much it matters, but he's still rather athletic. And then there's a lot of good guard defenders. Joshua Durant, Anthony Saucedo, and Donnell Donnell Urquhart are all like plus athletic, tall defenders. Malachi Jones is a fantastic power forward defender. The problem is none of these guys can score the ball. There's not a single 60% true shooting scorer on this team. At 59% true shooting, Evan Mobley still is good, and he's getting 24 points a game. But he's as good as it gets. And then there's some downright basketball terrorism occurring from one Donnell Urquhart, who is scoring 16.7 points a game on 49% true shooting. And that's really just heinous. So, the Knicks are completely incapable of scoring the ball. The Bucks have guys who play solid defense all across the board, basically. Santoro's a god-tier defender. The only bad defender on this team is Jesus Wood. Chance Roman, you can go back and forth on. I think if Chance Roman is in a guard slot where he's oversized and more athletic, he's a good defender. In the post, it just makes no sense. He's just a downright bad post defender. He's got D+ post defense. So, again, back to that roster change for the Bucks. However, I expect the Bucks to make the roster change and to win this one handily. Man, I just want to see the Bucks perform at full output. When we go to talk about the Sonic series, we'll do a little talking about Renee Snyder. Perfect example of why I'm so desperate to see good jamming for the Bucks, because there's so much potential here. Could the Knicks take two? This is like a high variability matchup again. I could see the Knicks literally winning this if the Bucks don't even upload. Just because the way this Bucks team is being played right now, they don't look fantastic. They just look okay. And the Knicks could sneak away with one. I think 4-2 adequately accommodates for the, Schrodinger's box of Noel's upload. So that's how I feel about the East. All things considered, not a great year for first-round matchups. When we get to the West, there's still not going to be a bunch of great first-round matchups. But that's just how it kind of panned out this season. I think the Magic Bulls will be a fun one. Maybe that's a 4-3. But, not every year can have insane certified bangers. Although it's years like this where the random upsets come and, out of nowhere. All right, so let's go to the West. We got the number 2 Thunder versus the number 7 Trailblazers. All right, we know the Thunder well. It's the same team that won the championship. Clint Cochran, Isaiah Todd, Arden Justice. Big shout out. Play for winner with Fausto Canepa coming for a freaking min. Absolutely ludicrous. I know he's not even a main player, but it's just how is a player this good? I know he doesn't play defense, but he's a fine scorer. How does he come out of nowhere for a min? An athletic 6'8" guy who can stroke the 3 ball. Look, this is a very good Thunder team. The big question is did Clint Cochran and Isaiah Todd and Arden Justice live? Yes, Arden Justice in particular is a surprising one. He's looking pretty ageless. He's basically had no drop off at all. The perimeter D is down, but he's still B+ quickness at 34. Honestly, no one could predict that. I know it used to be the league was okay, you hit 30 years old, you're dead. We're past that. I think 32 is the realistic cutoff where we're at now. Arden Justice is legitimately getting, I don't want to use the word lucky, but he's above the curve, well above the curve in terms of how athletics are supposed to degrade over time. Every time you basically roll the dice, so we'll see. But as long as they live, this team can be good. So this team is I see the Nuggets, the Thunder, and the Mavericks as all having basically equivalent odds to win the West. I think the Clippers are a little worse. Yeah, so it's a good all-around team. Now, the Trailblazers, I'll be honest, the Trailblazers had a plus-minus of 4.5, which is not great to begin with, and I have absolutely no idea how they got a plus-minus that good. This team is Gervasio Chavez and Joe Sandberg and Devon Santiago and nothing else. And I'll be honest, I think it's just that I don't know. Gervasio Chavez just seems like he can't play any defense, and he scores solidly. Devon Santiago is maybe it's just that Devon Santiago and Joe Sandberg are two good all-around players, and that's it. Because I like those two. Joe Sandberg can't quite play defense yet. He gets steals, but he doesn't play the man defense super well. He does score well, and Devon Santiago is kind of this all-around power forward. Again, he's a little young. He's not. Stop, Siri. Stupid watch. But I hate the Trailblazers. Yeah, I don't like their bench. I hate Larry Escobedo. Tony Mitchum has had a surprising come-up year. I think, maybe he was disrespected because of the Jesse effect and he was actually good this whole time. Or maybe he just took all these years to develop. I haven't been paying too much attention to Tony Mitchell. So I don't know. I guess this team's okay. But the Thunder are just like going to absolutely crush them on the inside. I mean, the way you want to stop the Thunder is with great post defenders because a lot of the ball's going on the inside to Cochran and Isaiah Todd. And they're just not going to be able to stop it. Gervasio Chavez is a certified bad defender. He's going to get absolutely stuffed by Clint Cochran for his trouble as well. So I'm feeling a 4-0 on this one. But hey, the one nice thing for Tim and the Blazers is that, in theory, if you offload Gervasio, I don't know if his contract's expiring. It is. If you offload Gervasio and you focus around Joe Sandberg and Devon Santiago and maybe make a move or two, I know Tim struggles to make moves because, like, Tim does the same thing that Noel does, where it's like you just won't put the good guys on the table to make a big move. Put Antonino Epifanio on the table to make a big move, Tim. Put Francis Threadgill on the table to make a move. Put the guys people want on the table. Like, yeah, keep Joe Sandberg and Devon Santiago, but put the other good dudes on the table so that you can make a move that will, like, make your team better. I just feel like Tim is always asking to make a deal, and he's never talking about the players people care about as, like, part of it. And no one wants to see that. We want to see teams perform at their best. So anyways, the Thunder are going to smack the Blazers. Next, we got the Nuggets Suns. Okay, so I just hated on the Blazers, now I'm going to hate on the Suns. I have no idea how the Suns won 49 games. They're absolutely unbelievable. I mean, this one is backed by the statistics. I mean, a plus-minus of 2.4 winning 49 games is absolutely ludicrous. They won as many games as the Sonics, who had 3.5 points better in margin than them. Although the Sonics are kind of cheating because there were some deadline trades at play. But anyways, I don't love this team. Like, there are a couple individual pieces of this team that are okay. Matty Grease is like a fine league average center for a starter. I don't know if I would say maybe he's a little above average, but then you look at his contract, he's below average again. John Thompson is like, might be good one day. He's just not filled out yet, so you can't rely on him this season. And then Lejeune de Tamer, he might be okay, but it's like, I don't know. He's got to at least get more minutes. The big problem with Lejeune de Tamer, Lil Juju. Oh, who's that skunk from Disney? Pepe Le Pew. Pepe Le Jou. Maybe that will be the nickname. Pepe Le Jou is, he doesn't play man defense, but he does seem to be getting steals. I'm just looking now and realizing Pepe Le Jou is only getting 25.6 minutes a game, which is absolutely inexplainable to me. Give him more minutes. And then Mac Jones I don't really like, and Richard Salisbury I absolutely hate. And why Richard Salisbury is getting any minutes at all is absolutely beyond me. So basically, I don't know if Jason ever submitted a game plan for this team as I'm looking deeper. Maybe he's literally on recommend. But this team is pretty bad. And the Nuggets, while they're not quite the Nuggets that won the chip anymore, Vogler is still kicking around pretty well. So, Vogler offensively has taken a step back. He's really starting to become like a jump shotty offensive player, which is starting to hit the efficiency. However, as a defender, he appears to still have it more or less, and he's 7'4", so that's always going to help. It's Damon Vogler. It's all these kind of taller guards, well, except Ricky Trapp, these taller guards that can chuck it. Jonathan Thompson, Joe Valdez, Christopher Carmichael. I don't hate any of them. I think Joe Valdez is certified solid. Christopher Carmichael, the jury is still out this season. I don't know if he's going to be the ticket. He's definitely going to be getting minutes. And then I really just hope Evan isn't playing Ricky Trapp. I know his stats are just barely tolerable, but Ricky Trapp is going to get fucking cooked in the playoffs. That's my professional opinion. All in all, Rayford Fox, Damon Vogler, very good fits. Joe Valdez, Jules Jimenez. I like those four players a lot. I think that alone is enough to take you to the second round in the West before things get spicy. The West is when I compare it to all these god tier teams, when we had the fucking Insano Jazz and the Insano Grizz and the all these nuts teams, these teams all seem so bad. But I think I got to lower my bar, and the reality is the Nuggets are quite good. So anyways, the Nuggets are going to annihilate the Suns. This is feeling like another 4-0 as well. I just cannot see When I say 4-0, it's like there is literally zero chance on the planet that this team wins the series. I don't see any way the Suns can win the series. Same with the Blazers. And I say all that having watched the Thunder nearly blow it against the Lakers in the first round last season. So, like, anything is possible, but I'm still out here throwing 4 zeros. All right, next up, we probably have the matchup of the first round in the Daddy Bowl of the Clippers versus the Sonics. This one has got multiple levels of intrigue, divisional matchup, the Daddy Bowl effect, and the Sonics are kind of like the one X Factor team in the West. What do I mean by that? Well, the Sonics obviously made the big trade deadline acquisition to acquire Renee Snyder from the Jazz. And since acquiring Renee Snyder, so the Sonics were about 25-25 when they acquired Renee Snyder, and since then have gone 24-8, which is a 60-win pace for those of you counting at home, which is extremely good. However, like, there's a bunch of scheduling at play. I think the Sonics had an easier second half schedule that they profited from. Their plus minus did grow a bunch over the course of the season. When they were 25-25, their plus minus was like 2. Now it's 6. However, the Clippers have a plus minus of 13. They have a very good team. So the big question for the Sonics is, like, will Renee Snyder hold up in, like, the big time? All across the board, the Sonics feel like a team that's very good. It's just missing, like, that one superstar player to take them over the top, right? Like, Roy Kent and Will Ford, very solid all-around players. Roy Kent isn't like a defensive superstar, but he gets boards. He's giant. He doesn't foul too much. He can put the ball in the bucket well. He gets blocks. Will Ford, he's got A- posty, and he's an extremely good scorer. He's getting 22 points per game on 61% true shooting. And he can throw in a little O boards at the same time. Broderick Lewis and George Bradley are like those defensive multi-tool types that play the wing. Can't hate him too much. I do kind of hate that Broderick Lewis is turning into a bit of a chucker. I was hoping he'd be a little more efficient. And then at guard, this is the big question. It's like, okay, Moses Moody, Z-Money, Renee Snyder, like, how can you make that work? If Renee Snyder is going to score 25 points a game on 65% true shooting, this team could get lucky, right? There's a chance any given Sunday. Any given Monday, I guess, because that's when we're going to run the sim. With Short Kings, we've seen it all over the place. The thing that's kind of insane to think about is that, like, Renee Snyder this season just finished scoring 64% true shooting on 21 points per game. When you look back at, like, David Del Valle, when you look back at Ricky Trapp, when you look back at Emilio Zili, like, that's as good as all of those guys' best seasons, basically. Like, it's equivalent. So, were those guys in their prime good in the playoffs? I don't know. Like, they kind of go up and down. But I don't know what I'm expecting from Renee Snyder. This is a true X Factor matchup. Now, if we ignore the whole Renee Snyder bit, basically the story of these two teams is they're all-around teams, not superstar-driven. The Clippers just have slightly better players at every position. So it's like, okay, Roy Kent versus Owen Lamb Jr. Well, Owen Lamb Jr. is definitely the better player. Okay, Will Ford versus Beelzebub. Well, I think I like Beelzebub a little more, but it's still pretty close. Then you go down the line, you go like, all right, Roman Balakelia versus Moses Moody. Yeah, I definitely like Roman Balakelia better. I mean, he's not as good of a defender, but he's a way better scorer. Idris Al-Mustafa versus Broderick Lewis. Again, it's close, but, like, Idris is just the better fit. Like, he doesn't quite have the athleticism and size, but he does more rebounding and he plays good defense. And then it's like Jamie Jones versus Renee Snyder. Again, this is the one where I'm kind of on the fence. Like, Jamie Jones is a fine player by all respects, but Renee Snyder can be, like, when you look at his stats, it's like, oh, this could be the dude. All things considered, we'll have to see how the game plans go. I think if I'm Doc and I'm thinking about coaching, the only real question you have to make is, like, who plays center, who plays power forward? Do you put Owen Lamb? Do you try and get the Owen Lamb-Will Ford matchup because Will Ford has been playing power forward? I don't know if I'm going to switch him, but this is, all theoretical. It's like Owen Lamb is smaller, but he's the better rated defender, but he's less athletic. It's like, I don't know. You can go back and forth on which one's better, but, like, Beelzebub is bigger and he gets more blocks. So outside of that decision, I think Doc just basically continues with the status quo. The Sonics have a little more options to get weird. You got, like, George Bradley and Broderick Lewis. What the hell do you do with them? Do you play Z-Money for the passing? What do you do with Renee Snyder? I don't know. The team's a mess, as you would expect from a team that just sold all their best players. All things considered, because I want it to be this, and I'm hoping there's a little, like, divisional messiness, I want this to be a 4-3. Look, the Clippers should win this pretty handily, and I would probably rate this a 4-2 if there wasn't the Daddy Bowl factor and it being me versus Doc. But I'm here for a little drama. Let's get a little drama. And let's see, if we're going to get some short king action. All right, the final matchup is the Mavericks versus the Grizzlies. Look, the Mavericks are going to win this. That's not a hot take. We all know it. The one thing I think will be interesting about this series is Cristiano Morris is injured. And what that means is I've always been the number one, the president of the Morris hater club, because I think, yes, Morris is a certified good scorer at this point. He's scoring 30 points per game on 61% true shooting. He can pass the ball. He does not rebound. He does not play defense. And so what I think will be interesting to see from Michael is okay, you're going to be forced to run a game plan without Morris. You're finally going to get to see what your team looks like when the ball doesn't go to him those 20 to 25 shots a game, right? Who's going to start taking those other shots? Because to be honest, if it's Rick Bong and Carmichael Brown, doesn't necessarily hurt your team, right? Put Jonathan Ratliff as your starting guard, starting point guard, put Rick Bong as your starting shooting guard, and then that's boom. You don't need Morris anymore, and you play everybody. You keep playing Whitney Negron and whoever the hell your small forward is. Is it Robert Lemon? Yes, it's Robert Lemon. And your team, I think your team will operate very close to just as good as if it had Morris. And then, of course, the big thing is all right, once you see that, hopefully that lets you feel a little more creative on what you can do with Morris, right? Use Morris in any position between 1 through 4. Be a little more matchup dependent. And also, in the off season, maybe sell him for some defensive players and some passers and some rebounders around Carmichael Brown. Rick Bong is getting old, so you may need to find a new all-around guy, but it's just I don't like Morris as a winning player. So we'll see how the team performs. For the Grizzlies, it's a fun last hurrah. Even though Morris is hurt, do they have any chance? Absolutely not. I know that one sim after Adam sold everybody, he went 7-1, which was fun. But the reality is he won one lucky game and otherwise beat a bunch of pretty weak teams. Yeah, he beat me by 4 points. And otherwise, he beat teams that weren't in the playoffs. And then after that sim, it really fell apart. He had a losing record by a solid amount. He went 5-9 or some shit. So the Grizz are dead. It'll be fun to get Arroyo one last ride. Maybe Arroyo can put up a 50 burger and win the Grizz a single game. I'm not even gonna I'll give the Grizz one. Adam deserves it. Maybe we could get some sick Arroyo by performance. It's the 4th game. It's in Memphis. He pulls out some insano shit to make it a gentleman's sweep. But the Mavericks will be moving on. So this is how I'm feeling about all the matchups. I don't always make round 2 matchups because life is just so busy. But there are a lot of round 2 bangers in theory in this series. So, I'm at home at least, not on the road. So maybe I'll have the opportunity to. But until then, we wait till Monday. See what happens. Best of luck to everybody. Don't fuck it up, it'll win. Thanks for watching, and doodles.